Make some noise for Josh Jasu!
Wow, thank you so much for having me. This is so cool. I am happy to spend the 4th of July with you. Maybe you're not aware of some of our customs on the 4th of July. One of them that sticks out is a hot dog eating contest. And I've been traveling the world, and a lot of people think that they know what a hot dog is. They even think that they have their own version of a hot dog. And as I've traveled the world, I can honestly say that no, you don't. Because you all here, I'm not going to pronounce it correctly, but you have bratwurst. That's not hot dog at all. That's good. You have to understand, to make a hot dog, like bratwurst is beef or veal. It's a meat with herbs and spices in it, cooked well. A hot dog, especially in America, a hot dog is something that to make you first have to find. And when I say find, I mean like putting together a proper hot dog in its casing and to serve is a lot like a witch's spell. You have to find meat that's first on the floor. It's very important this meat is on the floor. If the meat is not on the floor, you might not be making a hot dog. You have to find this meat that's on the floor. You have to couple it all together. You have to push it through this machine. And bratwurst, once again, beef, veal, you can only hold together a proper hot dog with hate and like a touch, like a dash, just a little bit of poverty, right? So you have some hate, you have, you can get a side of anger in there too. And then you put it together into a hot dog, you wrap it up nicely so it looks like it might be edible. Because I don't know if you've had a hot dog. In order to prepare a hot dog, it's not like preparing a bratwurst. You have to boil a hot dog. And in order to boil the hot dog, it means you do have to ruin some water. You put the hot dog in the water, you boil it up, that cooks the hot dog. Cooks is a strong word. What are you cooking? It's demon meat. But you boil the hot dog up, so then you pull it out, that's cooked. You then put it in a bun to cover up that you're eating a hot dog. The water you have to dispose of like toxic waste. A lot of people will pour this down the sink. Don't do that. Don't get that mixed in with the regular. When I was little, I had a friend who his mom had a flower garden, and he'd make hot dogs after school, and then he'd pour the water in the hot dog garden, and all of the flowers died. Because that is runoff poison water. But yeah, you boil a hot dog, and then you eat it, and when you eat it, you're supposed to close your eyes and pretend you're chewing something else. Because this is going to be nasty. You can try to dress it up with mustard, ketchup, with mayo relish, with whatever manner of things people do. Some people will act really, really holier than thou about how they prepare their hot dog, as if a hot dog is not a mystery of meat mushed together I say all that because on the 4th of July, there is a hot dog eating contest that takes place. And the winner this year, once again, is a man named Joey Chestnut. And this year, he ate 70 hot dogs in 10 minutes, which is the correct response. You know how I said that when you felt physically ill? That's how you're supposed to feel on the 4th of July after eating as many hot dogs as possible. I believe the record is 76 hot dogs. And I remember one time my buddy entered a hot dog eating contest, and he was super excited about it. And he had watched Kobayashi, he had watched Joey Chestnut, and he thought he could do it too. He was like, if they can do it, I can do it. Let's give it a try, right? And so he entered the hot dog eating contest, and it wasn't like the official Nathan's hot dog. It was just like a local one that was happening on 4th of July. And he entered the contest, sat down with the other contestants, and then over the course of 10 minutes, my friend ate 2. This man ate 2 hot dogs in 10 minutes. We were watching it like, when is he gonna kick into gear? Like, when is it? There are other people that are literally like swallowing hot dogs like, as fast as possible. There was one dude that was this was incredible. He was screaming hot dogs down, right? He was like, oh! Meanwhile, our buddy, hot dogs in 10 minutes. We went from cheering to booing. We started out supportive. Initially, we were like, yeah, get him, you can do it. And then, when it was clear he couldn't, we were like, stop, you wasting a hot dog. When he got done, we asked him, hey, what happened? We drove you here. You the one wanted to go way out the way to enter this contest to waste everybody's time. 2 hot dogs in 10 minutes is not a contest, that's a meal. What's wrong with you? And he was like, I panicked. What are you panicking about? He's like, I saw everybody else do it, and they were so fast. I was like, how are they not choking? And then I remembered I might choke. So then I started chewing extra. I was scared to choke. I was like, if you had at least choked, then 2 hot dogs in 10 minutes would be more reasonable. You got people over here fighting to get hot dogs now. He over here chewing responsibly. I do my best when I go anywhere to be as good of a guest as it can. It means a lot to me to have me over here and for me to be your guest for a little while. I've been looking forward to this trip for a long time. And I'm always a little tense when I'm a guest, though. Even if it's just visiting a friend's house, you want to be a good guest. You don't want to leave and then have them be like, oh, never again. Like I get nervous to be seen as a bad guest. I don't want anything to go wrong. Like I've had to stay over, for a couple nights at friends' houses, and they're like, "Oh, make yourself at home. What's mine is yours." I feel like that's a trap. Because you really make yourself at home and then you find out how much they mean it later. It's like, I'd rather just act like I shouldn't be in here at all. Quiet as a mouse, I'll just act like I broke in and just try to affect as little as possible in the home. And they'll be like, what? He's such a good guest. We didn't even know he was here. One time I got so stressed out about being a guest at my friend's house while they were out of town that I just never went. And they were like, Josh, our apartment looks amazing. Did you do all this cleaning before you left? I was like, yep, you know it. Wanted to leave it better than I found it, Because even being the guest at a party, that's like a short-term guest. When you're just there for the party, you're just there, a few hours, maybe half the day if it goes long. And I'm terrified to be a bad guest there. I just don't want to be remembered in a bad light. And there was this one time where I went to a friend's party, and I'm not great at parties to begin with. I'm very much in the corner, or if I know one person at the party, that will be the person that I'm talking to the entire party. Like it will be a burden on them. Sometimes I see a friend that I know at a party and no one else, and I'm like, ooh, you about to have a bad time at this party. I hate that for you. I'm very sorry. But it's either talk to you or talk to a stranger, and come on. And so, I was at this party, and my friend who actually invited me to the party was late. We were supposed to meet up together, and I misunderstood the text message. I thought they were already in there. So I knock on the door, I meet the host, I tell him, oh, I'm friends with, and then he lets me in, which is a huge mistake. Because now I'm just sort of standing awkwardly while other people have a great time. And so I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? This is the fail safe. Every time you need a break from social interaction, or you just need to get your bearings together because you're in a public place and you're sort of freaking out, you go to the bathroom. The bathroom is the safe haven, right? And so I walk to the bathroom, I close the door behind me, and it's a little dim in the bathroom, but I use the bathroom, right? Other reason to go. And as I'm stepping away from the toilet, I hear this little crunch, like under my feet, and I look at it, and it's all of this glass under my feet, and it looks like the actual light bulb either popped or broke or something, and then now I've stepped in it. And as I really start to look around the bathroom, I realized that it is an absolute disaster in there. It is horrifically bad. So the bathroom mirror is smashed. I didn't notice it at first when I walked in, and the glass is in the sink, and there's a little bit of blood in the sink, right? And so I'm standing there, and I look over at the tub, and the shower curtain is pulled back, and there's a fur coat in the tub. And I'm like, all these things are too much for one thing. You know what I mean? Like this would be a shutting the bathroom down for a short period of time at the party if just one of them happened, and all of them are happening right now. And so I'm like, I don't know what to do. I flush. That's as much as I can clean up right now. And then I'm a bit panicked, so I get ready to just get out of the bathroom, because if I can get out scot-free, if no one sees me come out of the bathroom, someone else can address this thing, because I don't know anyone here. My only friend is late, and the host has just seen me once. So I get ready to, I don't even, admittedly, this is gross, sorry, but I wasn't even gonna wash my hands, because I was like, there's a whole bunch of blood in there anyway. They'd be dirtier than when they were unwashed. And so I get ready to pull on the doorknob, and I hear a knock. And I can't open the door. There's no way I could open the door and be like, all yours. You know? It's crazy in there. And so I hear the knock, and I think to myself, oh no. There's no way. First of all, if you need to go to the bathroom, the last thing you want is for someone to open the door and be like, all right, before you get in there, I just want you to know none of this is my fault, okay? Before you walk in with judgment, just know anything can happen to anybody at any point. Like, if you had been a little quicker with your feet, this would have been you, okay? I don't know what to do as I'm just standing there. And I'm admittedly standing there for like way too long. Like, and I hear a knock again. And I'm like, all right, I gotta do something. I gotta buy myself some time. And so I just say, 1 second. That's bought me 1 second. I have to use it wisely. And in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, I could try to clean up. I'm over here in my head freaking out because this is my worst nightmare. I'm gonna look like a terrible guest. I'm at a party where I don't know anybody, and I'm gonna look like I destroyed this bathroom. And so I'm Googling all types of stuff. I'm over here Googling, does glass flush? Like, does glass flush? How fast can you get blood out of the sink? If you were to look at my Google search history on this night, it would look like I definitely killed someone. Or at least a small animal. Because I was also Googling, like, does fur disintegrate? Like, and so, I just spent another minute and a half sweating and freaking out. And then I hear a knock, but this knock is like thicker. It's just like strong. It's clearly a different knock. It's clearly a different person. And that person is like, hey, come on, people waiting. I'm like, people? People are waiting. Okay, all right. People implies more than one person, which does imply, plural, and plural could just be two. It could just be the initial guy that knocked and is very patient, or maybe left, who knows? Maybe he had to use the bathroom so bad that he left the party completely, but this person is adamant, hey, I gotta get in there, right? And he said, people are waiting. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, 2 people are waiting. And then he yells out, you got a line out here. What's happening in there? And I looked down at my phone, and I had been in the bathroom for like 15 minutes. Like I had let this go way too far. And so I froze. I didn't know what to do at all. It's like your absolute worst nightmare as a person that's like gets weird in like social interactions, to actually have this weird thing happen to you is like, I think maybe this is hell. I think maybe I've died. And so I'm pacing back and forth in the bathroom, which is only breaking more light bulb glass. And I finally look out of the little window, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to leave. Like, I'm gonna have to jump out of the window. And in my panic, I forgot that we were on the first floor. So it wasn't like a big jump or anything, but I did have to climb out of a window that wasn't man-sized. Luckily, neither am I. I was squeezing my hips at an angle, like I put my hips diagonal to the edges of the window to get as much space as possible, and I wiggled out. I fell out of the window, and I tried as much as I could to pull the window back up from outside so that people wouldn't be like, oh, whoever it was went out the window. And then I was like, what do I do though? What if someone saw me go in, remembers me perfectly even though they don't know me, and could point me out, because I wear the same thing every day. And so I'm like, the only option I have is to go back in. Is to go back in and join the line for the bathroom. And so I walk around the house, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, all I gotta do is watch out for the host. The host was greeting me when I first walked in. As long as the host has got to that point in the party where they're not greeting everybody and they're not answering the door every time, I should be good. And so I wait. Some other people were arriving, and they knock on the door. Someone else opens the door. I'm like, this is my chance. I sneak in behind those two other people, and I immediately walk to the line for the bathroom. And luckily, my buddy who was late was in the back of the line, and he's like, can you just believe this? No, I do my best to be a good house guest, and especially when I travel, because when I travel, I have to do it as an American. I have to travel as an American now. And it's I'm traveling more than I ever have in my life, experiencing new places for the first time. But one thing that I will say is, okay, there used to be a time where you would travel when you were from the U.S. You would go to other places, and you would say that you were from the U.S., and people, there was a shine to it. There genuinely was this magnificent shine around you and your passport. People had questions for you. You would say you were from the U.S., and they'd be like, oh, blue jeans. Wow. And then over time, the shine started to wear off a little bit, the way that we were perceived on the world stage started to change, and you would tell people that you were from the U.S., and they'd be like, oh yes, yeah, Beyonce. And now, you travel the world, and look, people ask me. I don't go around telling everyone my business all the time. People ask me, hell, where are you from? And I go, oh, it's... is American. And they're like, what? What? I didn't hear. Is United States. What? I'm American. I'm from the U.S. From America. And I've traveled these past 2 weeks to Paris, Dublin, Brussels, Antwerp, now here. And there is a similarity. This happened more in Brussels and Antwerp than anywhere else, but it has also happened here where people will ask me where I'm visiting from, and then I will tell them. And there's a look and a noise you make that's genuinely offensive. Like it is. Once again, you asked me. I didn't say anything. I walk into the shop. Y'all are the ones, asking questions and stuff. And then I say that I'm from the U.S. I'm visiting from America. And then you go, oh. You get the face or you get the noise. You don't get both. Oh. I grew up in Louisiana, all right? And when I was, sure. And when I was in Louisiana, I have friends who live in all different parts of the state. And one of my friends, he actually lives he's in a rural area. He's in some swamp area near the bayou and everything. There's a bunch of things floating in the water, a bunch of predators out there. He does his hunting. He comes back home. That's mainly how he sustains himself and everything. And there was one time he was having a barbecue. A bunch of friends came over, and one of his buddies, his buddy Spence, came over and was having a cigarette off by himself. He walked off away from the barbecue to have his cigarette, and then sometime later he comes back over, and in the back door, the way that a lot of the houses are built in Louisiana is you have your door and you have your screen door, and the screen door can keep out the bugs while also letting air flow into the home and everything. And so he pops his head near the screen door, and his head only. And Spence leans in and he says, "Hey, can you call an ambulance?" And our friend is like, "What? Why?" If anyone ever asks you to call an ambulance, just do it right away. I'm sure that they have a good reason. I'm sure they're not just getting you to do it for fun because they want to hear the siren. I think that they probably need some help. And so he's like, if you could just call him, that'd be great. Can you please just call him? And he's being very calm. And so our friend walks up and pokes his head out of the screen door, and he sees that Spence, though calm, is standing there, and there is a baby alligator around his foot. And that's the way you look at me when I tell you that I'm from the U.S. Now, coming here at a time where tourism in the U.S. is way down. Yeah, people aren't coming to visit as often. It's like if people used to love to come visit all the time, and then something happened. It'd be like if you went over to your friend's house all the time growing up, and then one day, you stopped going, and your friend was like, why? Why wouldn't you just come over like you used to? Come hang out. And you're like, oh, well, last time I was there, your dad threw a plate at my head, so I think I'm good coming over for a while. You know? And so tourism is down in the U.S. People are choosing other places to go, and one of the main places that they're choosing to come is to Europe. It's all these places, like, you know, some people will come to Berlin. A lot of it is happening in Spain with Barcelona and Madrid, in Italy, you know, in Paris as well. And it's getting to the point where there's so much tourism, people are actually calling it like over-tourism. You know, and this is happening at the same time as like massive heat waves, like wild heat waves, some of which we've never seen before. It's never been as hot as it is now. It's very hot. Luckily, not here today. But this week you had, you know, one of your hottest days on record. I can't even imagine what that must have been like, because you all are like fit people. Like, you get on bikes to go you have to understand, my frame of reference is the US. So the fact that you're even walking next to a bike is leaps and bounds. You know, I can't imagine trying to ride a bike in that heat, or running. Some of you run. And so that's wild that this level of like over tourism is happening at the same time as this heat wave. And there are people in Paris, there are people in Spain and Italy that have had enough. They're losing it over this. You know, they're protesting the tourists. They're over here being like, stop it. Stop coming here right now. Talk amongst yourselves and spread it out throughout the year or something. But this is too much. You know, you have places like, I could be wrong about these numbers, but I think in Barcelona you have like 1.6 million people living there, but like 26 million people visit throughout the year. That's wild. I understand that if you live in Barcelona and you're trying to ride your bike, eventually you're like, get out of the way! No. And then if you live in Barcelona, you're tired of all these tours everywhere all the time, and you start freaking out. You might get a reputation for being a little bit rude to tourists, and then you'll be New York. Oh. But people are doing the best they can to protest. There's been all these different types. People get creative and stuff. There's one where they were shooting tourists with water guns throughout the day. You know, get out of here! Ah! You know, like when a dog tries to pee on the carpet. You know, you know? Although as far as protests go, you can tell that these are like good people doing the protesting, because that's what you came with, water guns. For water gun. I don't know. I'm coming from the U.S. where it would have just been guns. Like this. You can tell these are people who have a deep moral core, because you used water guns to protest tourists during a heat wave. They probably didn't even understand what was happening. You know what I mean? They were probably over here like, oh, the Spanish are so hospitable. They saw how hot we were. And then some strangers we didn't even know were like, cooling us off. You know, and I get the genuine frustration though, but this is the main problem, is that whether it's business or whether it's government, systems have a magnificent way of pitting us against each other. Like, there are people that are local that are upset because obviously with all this tourism, Airbnbs are shooting up. Airbnbs raise the price of living in the area, so then people are getting priced out of their homes. They're getting priced out of the areas that they grew up in. They have to find somewhere else to live, all for people who don't live here, who are just coming to peak, and then they head home. And that can be incredibly frustrating, but that's the people who are coming to visit didn't come up with a master plan. Airbnb and the government that allows Airbnb to run rampant are the people to blame. You should be taking, like, if you're gonna take anger out on anybody, it should be the local government and the Airbnb that allows it to run rampant. You should be using the water guns on the computers at the... You know, because I think that that's the main way that systems get to stay intact. They see this, Airbnb sees it, and local government sees it, and they're like, well, we get to rake in money while the people that live here blame somebody else. Why would we ever change our practices? You know? And I don't really know what the exact fix is. You know, I remember when Airbnb was like at your house. There was a time early in Airbnb's history where you were just renting a room in someone's house, and so they lived there, and then they collected the money from you staying with them, like a little mini hotel. But that was like easier because then they lived here, so they cared about the home, they cared about the community, and you got to get a taste of like local life. And you could even ask them, hey, is there anywhere I should go to eat? And they would tell you, this is where we're going to eat tonight. And sometimes you would actually have a meal with your host. And I thought that was a really beautiful thing. And then like private equity and more money got involved, and so it ruined it. Because now an Airbnb is also like sometimes worse than a hotel, because they'll let the person who owns the Airbnb set the rules. So now you have someone setting these insane rules for the Airbnb. Like, you can't just check out. You can't just take your trash, put outside, and leave. There are all these rules. Like, you have to make sure to wash the cabinets, wash all the dishes and everything, wipe everything down, you know, give our dog a bath. Also, you don't get charged a cleaning fee that you end up getting charged anyway, because in the small print, it was like, pick up our kid from school. And you didn't see that part. So now you're spending all this money on Airbnb to just go somewhere nice like Italy. And then you get to Italy and everyone's mad at you for visiting Italy, but you're also mad because you're like, the rules in this Airbnb say I have to buy this house before I leave.
You have seen him everywhere, but tonight you are seeing him live. Please put your hands together for Josh Johnson.
Sometimes I find myself falling down whole rabbit holes online of things, stories and stuff. And there's a case, there's a trial. It just ended. And I think it may qualify for trial of the century. I know that's premature to say, but I don't know. I think it's pretty incredible. The trial of Young Thug just ended. Now, if you don't know who Young Thug is, he's a rapper. It's not a dog whistle this time. All right? Young Thug is a rapper that was on trial in Fulton County in Georgia, right? Basically, the state's case, what they were alleging was that he took all of the money that he made from music and he funneled it through and to a gang called YSL, a gang that he was supposedly the leader of, right? And that's the state's case. And the judge in the case looked exhausted. I've never seen a judge act like this before. Every time the court camera cut to her, her head was in her hands. I'm not going to act like I know the law, okay? My understanding of the law sort of begins and ends with Law and Order SVU, all right? So I know you can sustain, and you can object. I've never heard a judge be like, you can't do that. She said it a lot. And now the prosecution in the case, the prosecutor had given out a lot of plea deals. Ton of plea deals. More plea deals than I thought you could give out. I didn't have a number in my head, but this felt like an egregious amount of plea deals. It just felt like she was going to the hood like, you get a plea deal, you get a plea deal, you get a plea deal, you get a plea. She was basically giving a plea deal to everybody in Georgia but Young Thug, right? And she was giving these plea deals in return for their cooperation, their testimony that she would use to piece by piece paint the bigger picture that the state was alleging that Young Thug's the leader of YSL. Everything they do is by his direction. All his money goes through and to them, right? And the only problem is the prosecutor in this case gave plea deals to some of the least helpful people in human history, all right? I've never seen people less helpful than this. It was astoundingly unhelpful. I was helping my friend move one time. And he and I had to move a pool table. Just us. Downstairs. And our third friend was there at the bottom of the stairs just watching. And even he was more helpful than anyone that the prosecutor gave a plea deal to in this case. At least he could be like, watch your step, something. I'm gonna tell you about some of the testimony. I'm gonna need you to be patient with me because a lot of the dudes testified in this trial are going by their rapper name and they haven't made it yet. So I don't know why it's spelled like that. I don't know how to pronounce it. Just, I'm gonna say he for short, all right? There's one dude that was on the stand, right? And prosecutor asked him a very specific question, very specific reason. She goes, did Young Thug have an issue with Rich Homie Quan bringing his friend to the party, right? Now, Rich Homie Quan is also a rapper who has sadly passed away. But his friend, to the best of my knowledge, allegedly, is a gang member, right? This whole question is to paint Young Thug as a leader of a gang. That's why he would have a problem with a different gang member coming to his party, right? So the prosecutor asked, did Young Thug have an issue with Rich Homie Quan bringing his friend to the party? And then this guy on the stand goes, Thug, did you have an issue with Rich Homie Quan? Never in the history of court have I seen someone ask a question by the prosecution and then go, I'll just go to the source. And so then the prosecutor goes, no, I'm asking you. Did Young Thug have an issue with Rich Homie Quan bringing his friend to the party, all right? And then this guy goes, I'm not Young Thug, so I don't know. Moments later, the prosecutor's asking question after question after question, all alleging the same thing, all to the same end, right? And this dude, he's not being combative. He's not even being rude. He's just not being helpful. And so then the prosecutor pulls up, I don't know if she pulled up it exactly, but basically references his plea deal where she goes, I have right here you answering questions definitively that I'm asking you right now. And then this guy on the stand goes, y'all wrote that. I just signed it. Never in the history of court, at least that I know of, and it's like, you know, the internet especially was of two minds, because it was like people could not decide if these were like some of the dumbest people who had ever lived or legal masterminds. Because basically what this dude is saying in open court, right, is, look, you were about to give me how many years? I didn't want to do how many years, and you told me if I signed the paper, I wouldn't do how many years, right? So I signed the paper, but I'm not about to perjure myself. Oh. This dude was supposed to be on the stand for 3 hours. 3 days later. The prosecution is asking question after question after question, all to the same end, right? And, you know, references again. Look, I understand that we typed it up, but what is in this is based off of what you said to the police. This is based off of testimony you gave during interrogation. And he was like, yeah, but if you gave it to me to type up, it would say something different than what you have right there, right now. Even the prosecutor was like, oh. Question after question after question after question. And finally, this dude, he doesn't snap exactly. He doesn't lose it, right? I think he just gets exhausted. And finally he says, look, I'll tell you what I told the police. I'll say anything. Like, this is a witness for the prosecution. It's absolutely insane. The whole case is insane because you even look at the fact that the case had 3 different judges. Yeah, got passed off like a bad baton. First judge was Judge, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Glanville, yeah. And this judge, he does seem to suck. Like, he does. But he also had to put up with some stuff, too, because there were jurors that were fully out of pocket during this case. Just a couple of examples. There was one juror that got picked. It already took nearly a year, by the way, to pick a jury, which is insane. And then after they picked the jury, there's one juror that during the trial has started, and I think they just went to the Dominican Republic. Deputies got sent to their house, were knocking on the door, everything, and then they got back, and they had to appear in court, and the judge was like, you have jury duty. You have to be here to be on the jury. And they were like, every day? That sounds wildly inconvenient. Then the judge was ready to, hold this jury in contempt and was basically giving them an out because this judge in particular loved contempt. He had a lot of contempt. The entire trial full of contempt. And gave the juror a way out. He was like, look, I could send you I could send you to jail. I could fine you. But what I'm going to have you do instead is write me a 30-page paper on the importance of being a juror. This dude sentenced her to APA style. He sentenced her to citing sources. You couldn't see his face in the moment, but even Thug was like, damn. That's cruel and unusual. I've never heard of that before. There was another juror that I admittedly, I don't even know what happened with this person, but I know that they got in trouble for for live streaming the case. Which is extra crazy because it was being live streamed. Like, if you had been watching at home, you would just see them sit with the jury like... You risk jail time for an extra angle. We are... Judge Glanville, oof. There was a lot of plea deals being given out the entire case, like I said before. And some of the things that were happening was, this is me guessing, but there were people that were not being super forthcoming, that they probably didn't necessarily have to be, but they were in some sort of trouble. And so the plea deal was just given just as an extra, it's okay, you can talk, we just need to get this guy, right? And even with that, there were still people that didn't quite want to testify. And then there were people that were being so difficult, state's witnesses who were being so difficult that the state just could not get anywhere, you know? And there was one person, star witness. Basically, the prosecution needed a through line. They needed something that would connect everything. And so they laid a lot of it on one person in particular. Okay? And they needed his testimony so bad that they pretty much gave him immunity on the stand. I didn't even know you could do that. It sounds made up. It sounds fake. I feel like he thought it was fake too, because he was like, immunity on, so if I say something on the stand, answering one of your questions, and it implicates Thug, but it also implicates me, I'm okay? Yeah, you're okay. You have immunity. Immunity on the stand. You're going to be good. You sure? Yeah, you're going to be good. Okay. I'm not even joking. He goes, okay. Okay, but what if it's federal? And I love that. I love a good haggle. I love, like, okay, I hear immunity, but can I get a federal? Can I get some federal? Federal, please. Can I get a little federal? Oh, it's beautiful. This dude gets all the stab, and you can tell he doesn't trust it. You can tell he's like, nah, they're up to something. Doesn't want to answer any questions, but we told you have immunity. All right. Basically compelling this man to testify, dangling immunity in his face. Sits on the stand. First question from a prosecutor. How old are you? And he goes, grown. And the prosecutor's like, what do you mean by grown? It's like, I'm an adult. Prosecutor is like, okay, seeing as you're an adult, how many years is that? And then he goes, looks over at the judge. I plead the fifth. Truly incredible work. Truly phenomenal, you know? They would be asking him lots of questions, you know? Question after question. And it was getting frustrating for the prosecution. It was getting frustrating for the judge because, look, maybe I'm doing my best to be as fair as possible, but when you watch a case like this, it does just seem like if you're a defendant, you're up against two parties. You're up against the prosecution and you're up against the judge because everything in this case kept giving the prosecution chances, even when they would mess up. Because once again, they're not being given a lot with testimony, but there are things that they have in hard evidence. They're just not bringing them all together to make it cohesive, right? And then this star witness's testimony is not helping. So then, can't stress this enough, you cannot do this. Judge Glanville supposedly has a secret meeting with the witness and the prosecution, but not Young Thug's lawyers, right? It's something in Latin that I don't know how to pronounce, but you're not supposed to do it. I mean, and basically, in this meeting, this witness is then threatened with the dangled immunity and everything. Oh, we'll charge you for this. We'll hold you in contempt for 2 years. We'll put you in jail. All this stuff, unless you start testifying, unless you start answering questions to the best of your ability. I don't want to hear any more of this pleading of the fifth, all that stuff, right? And so then they go back to court and he's answering questions so well that the defense gets suspicious. Defense is like, what happened between now and lunch? All of a sudden, he remembers everything. He remembered what color everybody was wearing. And then it comes to the defense lawyer's attention that there was this secret meeting. And so he addresses it in court, in front of the judge, to the judge. He goes, Your Honor, I've heard some distressing news that there was a secret meeting with you, the prosecution, and the witness. My client and I were not privy to. I don't know what was discussed. You know, this person's acting different now. Like, what is this? And the judge, instead of denying it, instead of being like, that's a horrible accusation, that's not true at all, the judge goes, who told you that? And you can look at it because it was live streamed. You can look, who told you that? And he's like, Your Honor, don't worry about who told me that. That's the least of my concern, is who told me that. The meeting is my concern. He's like, no, I need to know. This is very distressing. I need to know who told you that. And he's like, Your Honor, it doesn't matter who told me that. Is that true? Like, did that happen? Who told you that? Who told you that? Who told you that? Who told you that? Over and over and over. And it's just wild that, like, in a RICO case involving supposed gang members, that the judge is like, who snitched? No, for real, who snitched, huh? Like, hey, I need you to come up out them names. Who snitched? Ain't nobody play with, look, I will bust everybody in here right now. Who snitched? And Doug's lawyer is like, no, look, I'm not going to tell you, all right? I'm not going to tell you how I came Upon this knowledge, I'm just asking you if this happened. I'm asking you maybe even for a mistrial. Like, how could this happen? He goes, who told you? Who told you? I'm going to give you 5 minutes to tell me who told you. And Doug's lawyer's like, I don't need 5 minutes. I'm not going to tell you. That should be the least of your concern. Like, is this true? And he's like, I'm going to hold you in contempt if you don't tell me. I will put you in jail if you don't tell me. You will go to jail if you do not tell me. It's like, look, I'm not going to tell you. You can put me in jail, but the problem is the meeting. The problem isn't who told me, right? And so then the judge does it. He holds Doug's lawyer in contempt, which is pretty terrifying. You know? This judge is basically going over and over again. Who snitched? Who snitched? I can't stand a snitch. And you know... And you couldn't see Thug's face in the moment, but he had to have been like, I know, right? And so then Glanville does it. He holds Thug's lawyer in contempt. And, you know, the Bar Association hears about it. And they show up to back Thug's lawyer up because that's terrifying. It's terrifying if a judge does something, doesn't even bother denying it, and then holds you in contempt for asking. That's a scary court system. You know what I mean? Because that's one of those things. If it can happen to anybody, it can happen to anybody. Like, I know that it's a case involving hip hop, involving like gang culture, whatever. But that particular thing, that could happen to anybody. I promise you. That's very scary. You know. And so the Bar Association shows up to back this dude up, and it looks like his case is going to be heard, and probably the contempt is going to be thrown out. But basically, they tell Glanville, it's like, there's no way you're impartial. If you're trying this hard, there's no way you're willing to just let the facts play out. And so Glanville has to recuse himself from the case. And one of the things about recusing yourself, it doesn't undo damage. The case just goes on, you know? So there's still this like contempt hanging over Thug's lawyer's head and stuff. And then they move on to the next judge, and the next judge was the judge for a day. I'm not a judge, and I don't know how judges get cases and stuff. Apparently this case was just given to her randomly and everything, and then she got the case and she was immediately like, hey, y'all, I can't. And so many people were like, why? What's the problem? Don't worry about me. I can't right now. And so then the case goes to the third judge. You know, the judge just, that judge. The case goes to her, and she does her best. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult because there are things happening in the case that should just never happen. They actually had an officer come in who was, I guess you could almost call him a specialist in RICO cases through his police work, right? And even he made a mistake on the stand that had the defense asking for a mistrial, because basically the state handled the case so poorly, so messy, just so confusing, right? That the defense would be asking for a mistrial consistently. They were asking for a mistrial the way that you act when you got 2 cards left in Uno. Anybody do anything, you're like, oh. Defense would call for a mistrial nonstop. That's a mistrial right there. Your Honor, he just sneezed. That's a mistrial. He gonna get everybody sick. Because this witness on the stand, you know, his testimony, I'm pretty sure, had to be thrown out, because even though he's an expert in RICO and everything, it was 2 things were revealed that were pretty distressing. One, it's a RICO case, so they're trying to get everybody on everybody's crimes, but they never bothered to really look at the financial records of Thug. Which is pretty insane if you're telling me that all the money he makes, he runs through and to a gang. And you didn't bother to check a Chase statement or anything? That's wild. And then, while this officer is giving testimony, he makes a mistake that obviously wouldn't be called out by the prosecution, but does not get called immediately. And then the defense hears it, and then they're like, this is crazy. We can't allow it. Basically, he references past convictions as part of a testimony to what this person would have done in this case. And you can't do that. You got to judge it by the merits of the evidence you have in front of you about what happened right now, right? And at one point, the judge loses it. She storms out. The judge goes, I can't take it anymore. She hadn't even been the judge the whole time, but she was like, this is insanity. And you couldn't see his face, but you could imagine Thug being like, I know, right? Like, and so she almost grants a mistrial. You know, there's a mistrial with prejudice and mistrial without prejudice. Mistrial with prejudice is basically don't even bring it up again. Mistrial without prejudice is like, okay, you didn't make the best case, or something happened, or a bunch of jurors went to the Dominican Republic, so like, we can try it again later.
And so, you know, the judge at one point has had it with the prosecution and is giving like a full-on. You just so rarely hear people talk to like this on a live stream that aren't on a Zoom call at home. Like this, she was just like, she was looking at the prosecution and she was at her wit's end, and she was like, I don't know what to say to you. Like, I don't know, with the years of experience that you have, I don't know if you were willfully trying this case as badly as possible, or if you were just so unorganized that you can't seem to string a coherent thought together on how two things are related. And we've heard testimony. There are people that don't show up. We're leaving at 4:25. Like, what is happening? And the whole time, prosecution is like, oh. You know, you ever just take your talking to because you know you're like, yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, and like the prosecutor had the same nod that dudes have on the street when they getting yelled at on Valentine's Day. It's just like, just go ahead and nod. Just accept that you've messed up. It was so bad. You know, and it'd be thing after thing after thing, whether it was jurors, whether it was judges, you know, whether it was just wild testimony. There were people so uncooperative, right? Like, there was one point where they showed this guy a picture, right? And it's a picture of him and Thug and two other people. Apparently with the person, I don't know, I didn't see the picture, but apparently with the person who was murdered, right? Because that's one of the charges. There's drug trafficking, there's like gun running, there's all this stuff, but there's also a murder, right? And when it comes to the murder, that's one of the big ones, because they're alleging that Thug paid for the getaway car, right? And so once again, not checking his financial record seems like an oversight. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just saying. And they show a picture, right, with all these people to someone on the stand. And they're like, do you recognize anyone in this picture? And he's like, I see me. Okay, fair enough. Even when it came to start with this, there was one time where they simply asked this dude, when did you meet Young Thug? And he was like, before I went to jail. And just for the sake of clarity, the prosecutor tried to clarify, which time before you went to jail? And he just goes, "You're right." And I don't know how you handle this sort of thing, because this ended up being the longest trial in Georgia's history. Also, one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive, because I guess plea deals cost a lot of money here. And it gets so bad that every day, defense is like, hey, mistrial's still an option. You want to hit it with no mistrial? You can mistrial. But then, the prosecution would do something that would kind of warrant a little bit of a mistrial. Like there was even one point where they had someone on the stand read a caption from an Instagram post. And this caption had been poured over because basically through the hashtags, what a lot was being alleged, because, whenever there's letters, whenever there's numbers, it could have no meaning, or it could have double meaning, or it could mean exactly what the prosecution wants it to mean. It could mean what the defense wants it to mean. And so they were arguing about this one picture over and over again before they would let the person just read it out loud to the jury, right? Because then I don't know if it's a gang, and I don't know if that was what the prosecution was alleging, but there was one point where the prosecutor was asking someone on the stand about a series of numbers, right? And a lot of people will sort of rep their area code. That's just a common thing throughout America, right? Exactly. That one, that's one of those things that's like, it's so unifying. Everyone does it. Like, sometimes you just can't help it. Yeah. But this is my thing. Dude on the stand, prosecutor asked him, "What's 374?" And he was like, "Numbers." Maybe it's a gang, maybe it's not. I have no idea, right? But basically, there's this one picture that's being poured over and over again, and this was the straw that sort of broke everything, right? Because they had made agreements, and they had even redacted the picture so that only what would be read was what the prosecution and defense agreed on, based off of the evidence that they were both showing, right? But then when they actually gave the picture to the person on the stand, nothing was redacted. And the prosecutor had them read everything. And so then the defense is like, "Your Honor." I've never heard a lawyer have to go, "Your Honor," kind of like, "Mom," like. But this was it. "Your Honor. We just went over the thing. Why would Shaw?" And sure enough, judge agreed. Judge was like, "Look, I gotta do something else with my life too. Like, it's just, it can't just be this." And the judge said an interesting thing, and like I said, I know a little bit about the law, most of it, what not to do from this case. But the judge says something where she's like, I'm basically trying to salvage something here, because I don't want an entire jury's 11 months to be wasted. I don't want, which to me is a little weird. Their time's already been wasted. Like, this is about seeing if someone did or didn't do something. And so that statement was said, but then, judge turns to the defense and goes, I'm not going to grant you a mistrial with prejudice, but would you like a mistrial without prejudice? And defense was like, yup. And then she was like, I'm inclined to give it to you because this whole thing, this right here, no. No. And so then, they get to plea dealing a bunch of people day after day after day. And then they actually go to Thug and they're like, look, you're facing like 25, 40 years for all the things that we are alleging, right? But we'll give you probation, right? We'll give you probation if you just admit that you are the leader of YSL, a gang where you take all the money and you funnel it through into the gang and everything they do is at your direction. Like if you'll just say that, probation, you'll be good to go, right? And then Thug says, no, I'm not just gonna accept. You came to me to make your case for you. You know what I mean? No. And that's a very, I don't know, to me, that's a very, brave thing. I don't even fully understand all of the conditions around the sentence that he actually got, but that was what he was initially presented with. And he said no. And then the state said, okay, we're going to make sure that you do 25 years. And that doesn't sit right with me. And it obviously didn't sit right with his defense attorney. His defense attorney brought it up when the judge was about to make a decision. Basically, he says, Your Honor, the state came to us and they said he could do probation if he signs this piece of paper, or he could do 25 years if he doesn't. And I'm just kind of curious why the state would allow someone that they're so sure is a racketeering, drug peddling murderer to go free with probation if they're sure, right? And that he'll do 25 years if he doesn't say what they're so sure of. And the judge was like, good point. That is very hard to argue against. And then the judge granted Thug probation and, he went home. And there are some people that are like, man, if he could have just stuck it out a little bit longer, seen the trial to its end, there's no way he would have been convicted. The defense was ruining the state, just at every turn. And it was mostly the state tripping over themselves, right? And I get it, though. That dude sat in jail without bond. Dude was in jail for 2 years. He was in jail for a year while they picked the jury. He was in jail the entire trial, And every once in a while, don't get me wrong, every once in a while, Thug would also laugh. Because, he was facing a lot of time, but every once in a while, he'd also be like, how did we get here? This seems... Far be it for me to say, I'm just a rapper, but as far as the law goes... But what? I don't know. I don't know. I get it. I get somebody tells you, hey, you just do 3 more months, you'll go free forever. Maybe. That's scary, And it's also scary that that the state needed it this bad. That a lot of cases come down to reputation over justice. You couldn't just take the L. Right? It's like, no, you will die in prison for me to not look bad. That's terrifying, And I know it feels like it can't happen. Yeah, I mean, I don't rap, but I could see myself in a bad situation. Because it kind of begs the question, you know, did this person get away with a bunch of stuff, or did the state just jam someone up for 2 years? You know, thanks. But that's my thing. It's like I don't even know, and I'm obviously not thug. You know, I hope that everybody can like move on in the most prosperous way possible. I really do. Everybody that testified, everybody. I wish the best for everyone. I really do. I just can't seem to think there's a level of peace you have to attain that I don't know if I have. Because if someone accused me of being this like drug running, you know, murderer, this horrible person, like this that did all these things, and they were willing to put me in jail forever with a bad case that they didn't have enough evidence for, and then they were just like, you can go if you just sign it. I think it would make me mad enough to kill someone. But that's just me.
Y'all are in for a treat. Give it up for Josh Johnson!
I don't expect everyone to know or care about what's happening in New York, you know? Which is why I was surprised that the nation seems so gripped by New York City's mayoral race. Like, this, people talk about it everywhere because I think it's just feels like a beta test for something bigger, you know? In case you're not familiar with who's running, right? You have to understand who's running to understand what's happening. Eric Adams is the mayor of New York City. And Eric Adams, in case you don't know, is one of the worst people at corruption I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like, have a little mystery about you. Like, it's just, I feel like I could pay him off. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, like, one day when they make, like, his corruption is just, it's not enough. You know what I mean? If you're gonna be corrupt, go all in. He'd be having me feel bad for him. You know what I mean? You did all this corruption, that's all they gave you? You should have asked for more. I was very upset. If they ever revisit this chapter in New York mayoral history, everybody gonna be disappointed. Be like, flights? He went down for flights? Just tickets? You know what I mean? You had a dude in Illinois at least going down for gold bars. That's real corruption. That's like cartoon corruption. You know what I mean? Like, he took it back to the 50s level corruption. Break me off some gold bars, I'll get you anything you want. That's mustache twiddling, tie women to railroads corruption. That's crazy. And you over here embarrassing us as New Yorkers. This is a very rich city, and you going down for a couple flights to Turkey. Turkey! It's insane. But anyway, this dude got indicted. Indicted while in office, but because he has no shame, everybody was like, he gonna step down, right? Like, he got step down once he's indicted. That's too embarrassing to go to work indicted. The closest thing I can imagine to, like, okay, okay, this is bad, my bad. Look, so when I was a kid, I mean, I was a little bit older, but my buddy's dad got in trouble, and he got a little time. He had to do like a year, right? But he did, one of the crimes, I still don't understand this, one of the crimes where you get to report to jail. Like you get to report to, that's always weird, because whenever you watch Law and Order, they take you like jail start right after usually that's jail, you know what I mean? Like usually they take you out, I didn't do it, right? But for some reason, they told him he was guilty, but they let him get his stuff in order and he could report to jail. And that weekend, his son, my friend, took the car without permission and came home a little later than curfew. And clearly, his kid may be like acting out of frustration about things that are going on with his dad, but he gets home and his dad's very upset with him, and he's like, you didn't ask for permission for the car, you're supposed to be home by 10, I'm sorry, but you're grounded. And my buddy was like, no, I'm just throwing it out there, because which one of us got to go to jail on Monday? Like, it sounds like you grounded. It sounds like you really the one in trouble here. And that's kind of what it felt like with Adams. He's like, still trying to be a mayor, talk about crime and stuff. Over here talking about crime in the city. And so then you also have Curtis Sliwa. And Curtis Sliwa is the Republican running. And he's an interesting dude. He's like the head of the Guardian Angels. If you don't know what the Guardian Angels are, they're basically these people who hang out on the subway. You know the movie The Warriors? All right, it's like that, but if one of the gangs wanted to be the police. Like, all they really do is just fight black and brown people that they think are doing a crime, and sometimes lose the fight very badly, because they are getting older. And Curtis Sliwa, like, I guess I could slightly see how someone like him ends up like him, because he does have a story of violence against him for every story you bring up about New York City. Like, you'll be like, hey, do you ever take the yellow cab? He's like, I was shot in the back of a yellow cab in 1986. And you're like, how has this much happened to you? But Curtis Lee was running as the Republican. And then you have Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo is the former governor. And now he is running for mayor because governor turned out so well. And then you have Zoran Mamdani. And Zoran Mamdani almost feels like a fixture of politics at the moment, because he is someone who seems to be the antidote for the thing that's been ailing the Democratic Party maybe for like 9 years. This is a dude who is running on what he will do and his own policies that he believes in. And it's one of the first people, Democrat or Republican, that is running without really having to say anything about Trump. He has his own ideas. He has things he wants to do for the place that he is running. He's not running on being not like Trump or closer to Trump or someone Trump will call or someone that Trump hates. He is not using Trump in his orbit. People bring him up, but he himself is saying, I want to make the buses fast and free. I want to have free child care. I want to freeze the rent for rent-stabilized homes. And I want to make sure that we hold bad landlords accountable. Things that are very specific, because that's the other thing that it feels like the Democratic Party has been missing. is a clear and concise plan for a policy, something that you can attach yourself to, that you don't really need to get in the weeds for. Because I'm not saying that Democratic senators and Democratic candidates have not had good plans. I'm just saying that once you need a graph, we are a country that doesn't like to read. It doesn't matter if it's a pie chart, it's still reading. Because one of the things that they've come after Mamdani about over and over and over again about his policies, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to do this? How do you plan to pay for it, right? And one thing that he's done very well is had a quick and simple explanation for his plans to pay for something, you know? So when they ask him about maybe the bus system or maybe more rent stabilization, he'll say, oh, we already spend this much money. So for the buses, he's like, we already generate $700 million in a bus fare. I think that would, is clearly money that we could use towards a free bus system. Also, all we have to do is raise the corporate tax rate and we'll have billions of extra dollars that could go towards childcare, billions of extra dollars that could go towards like a bus system. And then they're like, well, how do you plan to pay for it? Raising the corporate tax. Well, what will happen? If you raise the corporate tax, people will leave. Where you raise the corporate tax to? And he'll be like, oh, I'm just raising it to the same as New Jersey. Like what they already do right there. Like they actually already do it over there. I guess you didn't know that, but it's already, I would just copy them. It wouldn't be higher than that. Like I would copy what they do over there. And I don't know, is everyone dead in New Jersey? I don't think so. I don't think everybody left. In fact, a lot of people moved there. So I think they'll be fine. But I don't think that Zoran is leading in the polls or is the Democratic candidate because of his clear and concise policy. I don't even think it's his youth. I don't even think it's because he's captured a moment. I think that he is the front runner because he, more so than anybody else, to a degree I've never seen before, is the number one. I'm telling you, the number one of all time, the number one Andrew Cuomo hater. He hates this dude. He hates this dude so much. He hates this man. He wake up and hate him. He wake up and he hate him with a smile too. You ever had somebody hate you with a smile? It makes you feel crazy. You're like, what you just said to me was foul, but you're smiling. Why are you smiling? No, he hates this dude. And look, don't get me wrong, they all hate him. Like every candidate hates Cuomo. Eric Adams hates Cuomo so much that even though he had zero chance of winning, even though he was actually campaigning, this man was like, look, I'm gonna do it better next time. And we're like, do you mean crime? Do you mean? Eric Adams, he's even, look, to his credit, he is stumping with Cuomo. He's over there side by side with Cuomo and everything, probably looking for a job because he's about to be out of one. You know what I mean? Like he is out there with Cuomo, but you can tell he hates this dude. Sliwa hates him. Curtis Sliwa hates Cuomo. He hates Cuomo so much that he was actually asked by a reporter, you're over here getting about 11% in the polls. Why not drop out if you don't want Zoran to win that much? Why not drop out? And clearly the people voting for you might also vote for Cuomo. And then Curtis Sliwa looked really offended. He was like, why would I drop out? People like me. This man is running as a Republican in New York City, and he's still like, I'm not going to drop out if it helps him. Zoran Mamdani hates Cuomo. He hates that dude so much. Hates him so effectively. Real hate. I've never hated somebody so much. I learned all their stats. Zoran hates Cuomo so much, he memorized everything Cuomo ever did wrong and bring it up any chance he get. That's Generational hate. I think Andrew Cuomo hates Andrew Cuomo because he running. It's like, why are you putting yourself through this? You know, man. Because then you look at the debates. Okay. This is very important. I gotta go back in the story for a second because Andrew Cuomo wasn't always hated. Even if you hate him right now, think back to a time where you didn't even know who he was. That time he was like beloved. People forget all about it because that's kind of what we do whenever somebody has lost favor in the public eye. A lot of people say they never liked him or that they don't really know why anyone ever liked him. But people loved Cuomo, especially 2019 into 2020. People loved that dude. People loved Cuomo so much. I think that's why people hate him so much now. Because everything he did feels like such a betrayal of their love. You know, people were out here calling themselves Cuomo-sexuals. Look it up. That's a real thing. People loved him so much. And then he got popular around the same time that like zaddy became a term and everything. So he was riding some of that wave and stuff. And you know, there were people, oof. Cuomo couldn't go anywhere without middle-aged women fawning. They were like, oh, he's so handsome. They loved Cuomo. And then COVID came. And for a little while, they loved him even more because New York's numbers during COVID looked really, really bad initially. Obviously, it would. It's an epicenter of travel. People go there from all over the world. And we're also on top of each other all the time, pandemic or no pandemic. But then we saw these huge numbers that scared everybody. And Cuomo's like, we're going to take this seriously. We're going to lock everything down. And he announced a bunch of policies. As soon as he announced those policies went into effect. And you saw the numbers crater. It was genuinely amazing to watch. It really felt like there was a lot of hope and everybody was going to live. And this is a long time before the vaccine came out or anything. So it was when people were at peak fear, right? But it was a wild time in New York because we had shut down so effectively that for the first time in New York City, the air was clean. You could take a deep breath. And then later, there was a scandal. Basically, it was exposed that Cuomo was doing some of the same things that Ron DeSantis was accused of doing in Florida, because Florida also had some pretty good numbers during COVID, which is weird because they didn't have any real shutdowns. They didn't have any real like mask regulations or anything like that. But then both Cuomo and DeSantis were caught just not reporting or telling people not to report certain numbers. And it turned out that New York was looking really, really good in certain sections of the lockdown, except for nursing homes. And so the thing that's really important about that is that if you see the numbers going down and you've set up a bunch of policies, you'll think, okay, we should just keep doing this, see if the numbers go down further, right? If the numbers go up, you're like, clearly we need to change something. So because we did not have those markers of spikes, we didn't change things. And so there were a lot of seniors that died that didn't need to. They died in nursing homes because of protocols that just didn't have enough evidence around them and weren't the best practices, right? And he was covering it up. Some were saying by 50%, right? And so people started to like him a heck of a lot less. And then at the same time, basically in tandem, he was accused by about 11 women of sexual harassment. Then it was 13. That's stats. Those are numbers. Double digits, you doing it. You are clear. 13 women who don't know each other all got a story about you. That's you. You doing it. All of a sudden, nobody was Cuomo-sexual anymore. And everybody was telling this dude to resign, but he tried to fight it. He was like, I'm going to fight these allegations. You're going to see my name's going to be cleared. And we were like, all right, but even if they clear your name, on these sexual harassment allegations, you still did the nursing home thing. And so everybody from Joe Biden to Eric Adams was telling this dude to resign, and he finally resigned 2021, and now he's running for mayor. That's just important to make sure you know, because I've watched people struggle before in a way that was kind of what looked like a bit of a lost cause. I try to be optimistic for people that are in my life, but I'll give you an example. My buddy wanted to enter an arm wrestling contest, and we are built the same. I'm never going to tell anybody not to follow their dream, but I won't let someone sleepwalk off a building. And so I was like, are you sure? Because, you know, you look like a mirror right now, and I'm not entering any arm wrestling. But he's like, no, I want to do it. Been watching online. It's so cool. There's actually a tournament coming up. I want to go. And so, you know, I went with him. We went, and this dude squares up. It was one of those ones where they got the peg on one side, so you grab it, and they got your arm with the pad for your elbow. And sure enough, they went. And as soon as they started, he was over here. And I couldn't believe it. This man was actually winning. He was like pushing the arm down, and then he won. I was surprised. You know, like when people got that farmer strength? You don't see any like real definition of muscle. It's all smooth, but they're incredibly strong. I was like, maybe that's him. And then I watched him from round to round. This man got to the semifinals. And at the semifinals, somebody walked up who really did look like a final boss. In my head, I was like, you've done very well for yourself. It's time to pack it up before he take that arm for good. It's gonna pop right out the socket. I'm gonna leave with one. And sure enough, he squared up. And then they told him to go, and he, But this was different. This dude wasn't really moving, but he was really strained, even leaning a bit. And then he started to make noises he hadn't made in the other rounds. Once you scream in an arm wrestling contest, you have lost something. This man, and he's straining, and he's straining, and he's straining till finally he goes, and he won. Now, to be fair, he won because the other guy went, and apparently that is a disqualification. And even when we were in the car ride home, we did have to leave. He didn't get to go to the finals because even when we were in the car, I was over there trying to be optimistic. I was over there like, at least you won. I give you an example of how much Zohran Mamdani hates Andrew Cuomo. In the first debate, right? In the first debate, it was Curtis Lewa, Zoran Mamdani, and Andrew Cuomo all on stage together. Really, the race is between these two, but every once in a while we throw Curtis a question. And Cuomo's talking, and he goes, look, this is not a job. Being a mayor of one of the richest, biggest cities in the country is not a place for on-the-job experience. You know, this guy's never had a job before, and I don't think he can run the city. He definitely can't run it like I can. I can do a much better job. This is not a job for experience while you're in it. You gotta know, you gotta come with plans of what you're gonna do. And then, to his credit, Zoran, you know, it's like, I do have plans for what I'm gonna do. I've stated my plans clearly. Your only plan is to attack me. And Cuomo also came at him with a couple of things that are like talking points that a bunch of the candidates have used that they're not really clicking for me, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't have enough Islamophobia to have it register. But one of the things that Cuomo brings up is like, this man still, you know, won't denounce the phrase globalize the Antifada. All right? You know, he's over here lobbing accusations at me. He still won't denounce the phrase globalize the Antifada. What Andrew Cuomo is referring to, supposedly, is a time where someone else said it and Zoran didn't, I guess, tackle them. This isn't language that he used. It's not something he said. It's something that someone else said that I guess he didn't do enough about in Cuomo's eyes, right? Mamdani responded, well, look, you're talking about things that are from 2020. And since we're talking about things that are from 2020, I don't know why, you know, people would elect a mayor who sent so many seniors to their deaths in nursing homes. You know, what I lack in experience, I make up for in integrity. And for what you lack in integrity, you could never make up for in experience. And I've never watched any debate like a rap battle. I was sitting in front of the computer like, oh! No, it's wild. Even Curtis Lewa got in digs on Cuomo. Cuomo was catching it from all angles. Because then, you know, they were talking about the accusations that had been lobbed at Cuomo during his time as governor. And Curtis Lewa goes, really? You spent all that money defending yourself? Really? All 13 women are lying, Andrew? All 13 women? This man hates Cuomo so much, he is standing up for women as a Republican. This dude hates Cuomo with all his heart. Oh, this dude hates Cuomo so much. And then the second debate was even worse. There was a moment in the second debate where the candidates were allowed to ask each other a question. It was just question and answer. They couldn't go back and forth. You just got a question, you had to answer. And Cuomo went over on Mamdani and he was like, you took a picture with this leader in Uganda. Did you know that this leader is actually someone who denounces all rights for gay people? They've actually worked on making it illegal to be gay in Uganda, and you took a picture with them. And Zoran answered, listen, at the time, I did not know this person's policies. I took a picture with this person. If I had known, I would not have taken that picture, full stop, right? And then it was Zoran's turn. And Zoran asked, he was like, Mr. Cuomo, in 2021, you were credibly accused by 13 women of sexual harassment. And in that time, you spent $20 million of taxpayer funds to defend yourself from all of these women. And you've lobbed, lawsuits, and you've worked with judges for gag orders and everything. You filed defamation suits on all these women. You have actually tried to obtain gynecological medical records of some of these women. Well, one of those women, Charlotte Bennett, is actually here tonight in the audience. And she can't even tell her story or speak for herself because you've lodged a defamation suit against her. But I can speak, so I want to ask on all of their behalfs, what do you say to the 13 women that accused you of sexual harassment? And it's in that moment I realized I wasn't hating to my full potential as a person. You know what I mean? Like, I am a C-tier hater when it comes to... This level of hate is unprecedented. I thought Kendrick hated Drake. This is truly wild. Because what can you do if you're Cuomo? I'll tell you what he did. He went, You went to Uganda? Truly, I have not seen a face like that on a person. Like, Andrew Cuomo's face when it was happening. I hadn't seen anyone make a face like that since my friend won his arm wrestling contest. I feel like the same thing was happening to Cuomo that happened to my buddy. Very bad. Whew. And Zoran is still leading in the polls, And one of the reasons that I think that he's still leading is because some of these efforts to stop Mondani have only helped him. Only helped him because billionaires have come out in force against every policy and against Zoran as a candidate. And that says a lot. They're like accidentally making him more popular. President Trump even said that if Zoran wins, he may have to mobilize the National Guard, take over New York City, which would be not just like a spit in the face to an open, free, and fair election, but what messaging does that look like to you? That you might have to send the National Guard and take over a city if the dude who wants free pre-K wins? Like all their efforts, they've spent so much money. Zoran himself has said, y'all are spending way more money on ads trying to campaign against me than I was even going to tax you. You don't want it that bad, and why don't you want it that bad? That's crazy. There's something happening here, and I think that's why it's got so much tension across the nation. I think that America's very good at telling a story, and America is a salesman unto itself. It's like a salesman of a dream and of an idea, and people, one of the things that Trump and other people have said about Zoran is that he's a communist. He says he's a socialist, but he's a communist. And maybe that would have worked like 20 years ago. That might have worked. But we are a capitalist country. We all live in capitalism. And it's going poorly enough for enough people that they're willing to try anything. So calling someone a communist, this sort of Russia red, China red scare, it just doesn't hit the same when people are working jobs and still can't afford to feed their families. And then along comes someone with not just a lot of energy, but a lot of hope that says it doesn't have to be this way. Look at what they do over there. If we just did what they do over there, we'd be able to have more things for us, which is our money anyway. A lot of people have this misconception that the money that a corporation makes is all theirs and was all earned. But they got that money from how much they pay their workers, how much they actually provide for their consumers. And you see that when left up to their own devices, they skimp on, let's say it's just food, they skimp on ingredients, they skimp on workers, they skimp on. And then one day when they have $1 billion valuation, we look at them as if to tax them would be taking their $1 billion instead of just taking back what is owed to the people that made them great, you know? And so I think that what is so scary for people about Zoran that really don't like him is that he is a reminder to a lot of people that you are a citizen, you're not a consumer, you are a constituent, you're not a customer. Like the story that gets told now, especially by our politicians, is that if you ask for what is owed to you, what is actually yours, you're asking for a handout. But you already paid for these things, and you pay them. So the idea that these people would all stand together in unison against this person who just wants to make the bus free should tell you something. And all of them stand together against him in the way that they are, with all the money they're throwing at him, and with all the fear-mongering that they're doing, it's having the opposite effect. Because now, to vote for him, even if you don't even like him, you get to stick it to a billionaire, people you already don't like. So what you've accidentally done is made voting for him like kind of cool as well. It would be like if you didn't want someone to date someone else, but the way that you lobbed things at them, the things that you said about them to try to discourage this person from dating this other person, would be like if you sat them down and said, oh, you don't want to get with him. No, his penis too big. He's just... You don't even want those problems. You don't...